The NBA playoffs are finally here, and I'm back with 6 of my favorite plays for FanDuel and Draftkings. We're going to hammer home the mid-range. We're going to find you my favorite value play, which guys I feel are underpriced, and of course, my favorite play for the 4-game Monday slate. Who is it? Belly up to the fantasy bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Monday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack back here once again. The NBA playoffs are starting today. Couldn't be more excited here to get things underway for this playoffs, but 6 of my favorite plays for you here to get us started. Some huge GPPs out there. So let's dive right into it. Before we do that, guys, make sure you get over to RotoGrinders.com/beer. Special offer for you guys just for hanging out here in the fantasy bar. We're going to give you $10 off a core premium subscription covering the NFL, MLB, PGA, and of course, NBA. And what a better time with the playoffs starting. We don't have to deal with the nonsense of guys resting, sitting out. What a better time to become a core premium subscriber here at RotoGrinders. So go take advantage. Limited time offer, RotoGrinders.com/beer. One more thing, guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and that subscribe button here on YouTube. Get notified when the videos are coming out. And that thumbs up button, very important. That's the tip jar here in the fantasy bar. All right, let's get into the plays here. Let's start in the mid-range at the point guard position with Kemba Walker of the Celtics. Now, it's tough to play Kemba in those seeding games. We know they were limiting his minutes, but we really saw them jump up on the minutes. We'll talk about that here in a second, but let's start with the prices here. Draftkings, under 7,000. Feels like a value on Kemba Walker. Then you look over at FanDuel, and 6,000 feels like an absolute steal, a lock-and-load play over there at that price point. We talked about the minutes. This guy averaged 30 minutes per game over the last 2 games. No Ben Simmons here, and I know he guards a lot of different guys. He could spend time on Tatum, on some of the other forwards, but would spend some time on Kemba Walker as well as a whole for this Boston team. I really like that he's not in there defensively. Really makes this matchup look better than what it's going to look on paper. A lot of people are going to look at some of the numbers, defensive efficiency, things like that. Fine. Normally the things that I'm looking at here, let's not forget Ben Simmons, the anchor of that Sixers defense, makes this matchup much better here for Boston. These prices just too good for me to ignore here on Kemba Walker. All right, let's go to the other side. I like that game. Let's get you some value with Alec Burks of the Sixers. Now, what I think is going to happen here today, Jordan Clarkson, obviously going to be a heavily owned guy with no Mike Conley for the Utah Jazz, and I think this is your pivot if you want to avoid some of that ownership. You want to play Clarkson, I have no issues with it, but in tournaments, we want to look for the lower owned guy. I think that's going to be Burks by a very, very wide margin here. And this guy, fantastic. We talked about no Ben Simmons defensively, but offensively, it's been Alec Burks that's really been picking up the slack here for the Sixers, averaging over 32 DraftKings points per game over the last 4 inside the bubble. And it's a guy that doesn't need a ton of minutes to do it either. In each of those games, he was well over a fantasy point per minute here. So tough matchup, no doubt. Generally don't love the target guys against this Boston defense. That cheap price tag, under 4,000 on both sides. The 8, 9, potential 10x upside that we could get here with Alec Burks really trumps that tough matchup. If he was in the 5,000 range, I'm looking elsewhere. But at 3,900 on both sites, making him easily the favorite value play of mine on both sites here in this Monday slate. All right, let's spend some money at power forward center. We got Kristaps Porzingis of Dallas. Now a matchup with Kawhi, Paul George, not a thing I usually want to target here, but I think there's still upside here with Kristaps Porzingis. And I think the ownership will be lower as well, and people will steer away from this matchup. But this guy's got to be in the MVP conversation for games in the bubble. And I know he missed the last couple games, but this guy averaged over 30 points per game and almost 10 rebounds per game at Disney World. And the price has also come down as well. And this is a guy we were paying $9K and above for easily every single slate. Now he's down to 8,300 on DraftKings, under 9,000 on FanDuel as well. Got some good value over there. We already talked about Burks and Kemba Walker, making him pretty easy to fit. And I think that ownership is going to be the key here. Porzingis, a big-time favorite play of mine. Going to be a lot of my lineups here on Monday. All right, back to the mid-range and back to point guard, shooting guard, Fred VanVleet of the Raptors. Now, Toronto, excellent job of resting guys, and they didn't have much room to move up or down in the playoff race, so they got some guys some rest towards the end, and I think that's going to mean good things for all these Toronto Raptors. But let's start with Fred VanVleet, and this matchup is really what I want to expose here. We know Brooklyn does not play any defense here. VanVleet took advantage of that in the regular season, averaged almost 42 DraftKings points per game over 3 games against the Nets this season. And the price really come down. Anytime you see a guy cheaper on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel, we want to jump on that. And the cheapest price we've gotten on him during this entire bubble experiment here, under $7K from Fred VanVleet. Sign me up for that. FanDuel right at that $7K mark. Love that price over there as well. But this matchup is really what I want exposure to, and we're going to do it here with point guard, shooting guard, Fred VanVleet. All right, we're not done picking on the Nets here. Let's do it again at small forward, power forward, Pascal Siakam. Now, this is another buy low that I really want to take advantage of here. The problem with Siakam so far, really haven't seen no ceiling games, and it's really driven his price down. And he's getting you there in cash games. If you're playing cash games today, I think he's a phenomenal play. But tournaments, I really think we're going to start to see that upside sooner than later, and I think it starts right here in game 1 against the Nets. Another guy that has dominated Brooklyn, averaging almost 45 DraftKings points a game against this team last season. And we know the Nets, we talked about how bad they are defensively, but they've really struggled with power forwards. In fact, bottom 5 in the league in defensive efficiency against that position. So I think that's the key to unlocking Siakam's ceiling here. I think we see that here today. Don't be afraid to pull the trigger. Looking at those game logs, I know it's been kind of ugly, but I think we see a big explosion game out of Pascal Siakam here in game 1 against the Nets. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play. But before we do that, guys, we're going to continue the Beast in the Night contest. All you have to do, absolutely free to play, get in the comment section and let me know fantasy points for my Beast in the Night on DraftKings. Closest guess will win themselves either a free week of RotoGrinders Premium, which we've already talked about, chance to check everything out for all 4 major sports, or a free RotoGrinders t-shirt if you're already a loyal subscriber. So let's take a look. My favorite play for game 1 here on Monday, you know, Mass, the Beast of the Night. All right, Beast time. We have not given you a center here on FanDuel yet. Porzingis center eligible over on DraftKings, so you can double up one of these guys in the utility spot, but loving Nikola Jokic, tonight's Beast of the Night. Now, I know a lot of you scratching your heads out there. Why would we go with Nikola Jokic against Utah and Rudy Gobert? Guys, don't let this matchup scare you away. Just take a look at the numbers for Jokic against Utah this season. He's averaging 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists in 3 games against Utah, averaging almost a triple-double here against the Stifle Tower Rudy Gobert. And yes, a very good defensive player, but not exactly the same guy that was Defensive Player of the Year here. I'm not afraid to attack Utah and Rudy Gobert here with Nikola Jokic, especially at these prices here. I was shocked when I saw him priced under 9,000. So the matchup will help eat away at some of that potential ownership of him being too cheap here. But either way you slice it, guys, Nikola Jokic, a guy we know can go for 60, 70 fantasy points any time of the year. These teams will tighten their rotations, means more minutes for him, and I think he does approach that triple-double. And in fact, let's go big. He gets the triple-double here and crushes these salaries, making Nikola Jokic easily my favorite play for Monday and today's Beast of the Night. All right, guys, that'll wrap us up here for the Game 1 slate for Monday on FanDuel and DraftKings. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, get in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget fantasy points for Nikola Jokic on DraftKings. Closest guess in fantasy points going to win themselves that RG Premium or that RG t-shirt. Can also head over to Twitter. Follow me at Beermakersfan. Love talking sports over there, guys. Don't be afraid to ask any questions you may have. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Best of luck. We'll be back later this week with more NBA. We'll mix in some MLB as well, and NFL best ball videos coming out shortly as well. So busy time here in the Fantasy Bar, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist